So there is one piece of Batman media that has been stuck in the back of my brain for as long as I can remember, and it's this clip from the original Adam West Batman show.
All are worthy. You can say that again.
And that is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for Skull and Bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones, a shrouded and powerful elite secret society from Yale founded by Bruce Wayne's grandfather, isn't something I could ever forget hearing, and it has had a very heavy influence on the way that I interpret all things Batman. Before I get into the spooky, conspiratorial, or symbolic sides of all things Batman, many people have written Batman stories, and Batman has had a broad range of influence, so I don't think all things Batman are any one thing. There are many levels that stories and characters can be interpreted from. This is just one possible level of interpretation, as yes, Batman is fiction. But the way I see Batman and his rogues gallery is a sort of archetypal model for the nature of modern civilization and its different systems of control and influence. Batman being the order and the villains being the chaos. Order out of chaos.
Set the established order and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos.
Order out of chaos is an esoteric concept associated with particular groups who have influence in society, and this is why I find the Skull and Bones connection to Adam West's Batman to be fascinating. As Skull and Bones has had extremely powerful, influential men within it. George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. both were in it, so the family lineage in regards to the Wayne family is something to think about. This theme of secret society is the main plot of the coming Gotham Knights video game. The Court of Owls is another blatant representation for this sort of thing within Batman. The symbol of the owl has been used esoterically to represent a sort of knowledge or wisdom that is hidden and lives in the shadows. Secret societies that are said to not even exist.
But no one talks about them. Not a whispered word is said.
The Court of Owls is a myth.
The Owl of Minerva within the Bohemian Grove, the all-elusive, mysterious Alex Jones. Bohemian Grove is the most obvious connection that can be seen to represent this in the real world. Ra's al Ghul, a member of the League of Shadows, a sort of Illuminati-esque type of group. Ra's obsession with depopulation in order to bring about a future utopia that lives in coherence with nature.
This world is doomed. Cities like Gotham will grow to resemble hell, breaking through the sidewalk, continuing up into the sky. Structures will grow to blot out the sun, and the people who live in them will be choked by the pollution they create. Eventually, when no space remains, this world will die, struggling for breath as man's mistakes nail the coffin shut.
There.
This doesn't have to be your future, Gotham.
Now that I think about it, Thanos and Ra's actually are very similar in a sense. Rumor has it Ra's al Ghul was the maker of the recently deceased Georgia Guidestones that were blown to smithereens. Not really, but you follow the point that I'm making. You can see the obvious correlation. Poison Ivy control through a sort of green agenda, right? Maybe that's what she could represent. We see that sort of thing really playing out in reality right now. The first Telltale Batman game, the central plot revolves around the first Masonic temple in the city.
The Mason stamp.
They show this Masonic plaque in the game for those who are doubting this. One of the chapters in this particular game is also titled The New World Order, which I do think in many cases the expression the New World Order isn't any one thing. It's a description for new forms of government or rule, really. So in this game it was used to represent new political power in Gotham. The New World Order in a sense is something that's always progressing in the world. Scarecrow I see as the absolute worst aspects of Big Pharma and physicians abusing their power through the use of fear. Obviously an extremely exaggerated version of this, but I do think it's a very real archetype that operates in our world and can be part of a corrupt control system that is being implemented. This is a little more speculative on my part, but Solomon Grundy in some cases can be seen wearing this noose around his neck, which I find to be interesting. Initiates into Masonry also during an initiation ceremony wear the same exact noose. Solomon isn't always wearing it though, so that's why it's speculative, but Solomon's temple is a major piece of symbolism in Masonry. Hermabif, who was appointed by King Solomon, is also central to the symbolism in Masonry, who was murdered and then allegorically resurrected through not divulging the secrets of Masonry. Solomon Grundy seems to be a weird amalgamation of this. Azrael, an assassin in the DC Batman world, works for the Order of Saint Dumas or the Knights Templar, another actual influential secret group in history, the name Azrael coming from the Abrahamic angel of death. So Lucius Fox, the name I find to be revealing and interesting to say the least, and I'm sure this one will have some viewers' eyes roll into the back of their head and they will click off the video because they like ignorance. But I've already established to some degree the correlation with Masonry and Batman. And Masonry at its heart is actually Luciferianism, which is essentially, in its symbolic sense, whether you take that literally or not, is the worship of the intellect or technological advancement as a means of progressing man into a sort of state of godhood. Lucius is derived from Lucifer in its root. Lucius is the person who provides Batman with his technology that allows Batman, a mortal man, to play on a godlike, full superhero level. So you can follow why this name is fitting for the role that he plays in Batman. And when Batman sees the Masonic plaque in the video game that I mentioned earlier, he's with none other than Lucius Fox, which I'm sure it's just a coincidence. You can apply Pythagorean numerology to the last part of Lucius's name in order to further explore this symbolism. So all of this is just a very brief overview looking at Batman in this sort of way, but I'm sure there is much more that can be dug into. Leave your comments below of different things within Batman or maybe other comics that I could potentially look into in the same sort of way. I personally find it fascinating. I'm not saying the use of this in storytelling is necessarily a bad thing. It makes for interesting stories for those who have eyes to actually see it. If anything, it just takes influence from the real world and taps into a sort of universal archetypal symbolism, which is why Batman and the world around him resonates so deeply with so many people. Anyways, please like, share, subscribe, comment below. Thank you very much, and bye. If you were justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
We look the other way when things turn sour. Bury ourselves in our jobs. Consume propaganda masquerading as entertainment. The message is always the same. Don't think, don't question. And what becomes of a society that's given up? It rots.